Saudi Arabia and Uruguay drew 1-1, but the result is only the surface. The deeper story is how Saudi Arabia survived pressure, how Uruguay needed a late equalizer, and how Group H became completely open after the first round. This was not a match of perfect attacking football. It was a match about pressure, set pieces, goalkeeping moments, and the mental weight of an opener. In tournament football, that combination can be more important than the cleanest tactical diagram. The game began with Uruguay carrying the stronger reputation and the more aggressive tactical image. Under Marcelo Bielsa, Uruguay are expected to play with intensity, verticality, and constant pressure. Saudi Arabia entered with a different objective. They needed compactness, patience, and clean defensive decisions. They could not allow the match to become an open running contest for 90 minutes. Their best path was to stay in the game long enough to make one important moment count. That approach sounds simple, but against a team like Uruguay, it requires concentration every few seconds. That is exactly what happened in the first half. Uruguay had quality, but they did not immediately break Saudi Arabia apart. Saudi Arabia protected central areas, slowed the rhythm when needed, and kept the emotional temperature of the match under control. This was not a deep block with no ambition. It was a controlled survival plan. Saudi Arabia were willing to absorb pressure, but they were also ready to attack set-piece situations and second balls. In other words, they did not try to win the entire match at once. They tried to win the next moment. The opening goal in the 41st minute came from Abdallah Al-Amri, and the source of the goal matters. It came from a set-piece sequence and a goalkeeping mistake. That combination is extremely important in tournament football. When an underdog cannot create 10 open play chances, set pieces become equalizers. They reduce the gap between squads. They force the favorite to defend details. And they punish even one loose moment. Saudi Arabia did exactly what a disciplined team must do: stay close enough for one detail to matter. For Uruguay, conceding like that changed the tactical problem. They were no longer simply trying to impose their style. They were chasing the match. That changes the spacing, the emotional rhythm, and the risk level. When a Bielsa team chases, it can generate huge pressure, but it can also leave moments behind it. Saudi Arabia's lead forced Uruguay to become more urgent, and urgency can create both chances and mistakes. The match became less about patient control and more about whether Uruguay could turn pressure into a clean final action. The second half became a different game. Uruguay pushed higher, moved the ball with more purpose, and eventually began to dominate territory. Reports from the match describe Uruguay building heavy pressure after the break, especially after tactical adjustments helped their midfield become more influential. This is where the game shifted from Saudi Arabia's controlled resistance to Saudi Arabia's emergency defending. The ball spent more time near the Saudi penalty area, and every clearance started to feel like temporary relief rather than a true reset. The key figure in that phase was Mohamed Al-Owais. Even though Uruguay eventually scored, the Saudi goalkeeper kept the game alive through repeated saves. From a tactical perspective, a goalkeeper making multiple saves does not only show individual quality, it also reveals the defensive pattern. Saudi Arabia were being pushed deeper, Uruguay were finding shooting positions, and the penalty area became the main battleground. When the goalkeeper becomes the main character, it often means the defensive block is brave, but stretched. But goalkeeper performances are complicated. Al-Owais was praised for keeping Saudi Arabia alive. Yet the equalizer also came from a moment where Uruguay punished a loose clearance or parried action. This is the cruelty of goalkeeping. A keeper can be the reason a team survives for long stretches, and still be involved in the one moment that changes the result. That tension is why this match felt so dramatic. It was not a simple hero story or a simple mistake story. It was both at the same time. Maxi Araujo's equalizer in the 80th minute was the reward for Uruguay's second-half pressure. It did not come from a completely calm domination of the match. It came from persistence. Uruguay kept arriving, kept forcing actions, and eventually created the kind of messy box moment that tired defenses and pressured goalkeepers hate. That is a real attacking method, even if it does not look beautiful. The goal showed that Uruguay can keep pushing until the opponent's structure finally cracks. Now look at the larger Group H context. Spain drew with Cape Verde. Saudi Arabia drew with Uruguay. That means after the first matches, the group is level. Tactically, that changes everything. The second round will not just be about playing well. It will be about managing risk. A team that loses next may suddenly be under major pressure. A team that wins next may take control of the entire group. This is why one draw in the opener can change the strategy of 3 different matches. For Saudi Arabia, the tactical lesson is positive but incomplete. Their compactness and belief were strong enough to earn a point. Their set-piece threat was real. Their goalkeeper gave them a platform. But the second-half pressure also showed where the next challenge lies. Can they defend deep without giving up too many high-quality moments? Can they keep the ball long enough to breathe? Can they turn defensive courage into attacking control? If they can, this draw becomes a foundation. If they cannot, it becomes only a heroic memory. For Uruguay, the lesson is the opposite. Their pressure eventually worked, but it arrived too late to create a win. Their team has intensity, talent, and the ability to force an opponent back. But if the first half lacks sharpness, the match becomes a rescue mission. Against a disciplined opponent, rescue missions are dangerous. They use energy, create frustration, and give the underdog belief. Uruguay need their pressure to start earlier, their finishing to become cleaner, and their control to look less desperate. The fan reaction around the player of the match debate also matters. Some supporters questioned why Federico Valverde received the award when Saudi players, especially Owais and Amri, were central to the emotional story. That discussion does not change the result, but it does show how people read the game. Uruguay may have had the bigger push, but Saudi Arabia had the performance that surprised many viewers. Sometimes the statistical center and the emotional center of a match are not the same. If we reduce the match to one tactical phrase, it is this: Saudi Arabia made the game uncomfortable enough to earn a point. And Uruguay produced enough pressure to avoid a damaging defeat. Neither side fully solved the match. Saudi Arabia could not protect the lead until the end. Uruguay could not convert dominance into a winner. That balance explains the scoreline. It also explains why both managers can leave with both encouragement and concern. The next round now becomes crucial. Saudi Arabia will need to prove that this was not only a heroic defensive night. Uruguay will need to prove that the late pressure can become earlier control. In tournament football, one draw can be a platform, or it can be a warning. The difference is what the team does next. Saudi Arabia must ask whether they can build more possession phases. Uruguay must ask whether they can avoid giving opponents such a long window of belief. So the final score was 1-1, but the tactical message was bigger. Saudi Arabia showed courage, structure, and set-piece danger. Uruguay showed pressure, resilience, and unfinished attacking rhythm. Group H showed that reputation will not be enough. After one round, everyone is alive. Everyone is under pressure, and every next decision matters. This draw did not close the story. It opened the group, raised the stakes, and gave both teams a clear tactical homework list.